Welcome back to the 0 to 7 podcast, where each week we talk about our business decisions and strategies to reach our goal of going from 0 to 7 figures of income in just 1 year.
Dean, we ran out of money.
We ran out of money. You got a little scared on Monday. You came into work and you took a look at the bank account and you got
a little scared.
Got very nervous.
Yeah,
and
they took all their bills out because it was time for the end of the month.
Yep, it was the end of the month, and so all of the marketing that we had been doing the previous month all gets taken out all at once.
Yeah.
Like Yelp and Google and Facebook. And
all of them wanted their money.
All of them wanted their money at the same time.
Yeah.
But Tuesday
came.
came.
We didn't run out of money.
It came.
Tuesday came.
You got a little nervous, though. But, yeah, Tuesday came. What happened Tuesday? You want to talk about
Tuesday
that?
came. So, first off, we got a little scared on Monday. Realistically, we got scared because we're like, well, how we doing? Are we doing good? Then we're like, well, all the big payments got taken out of the account. So, we go, let's see where we're at. But anyways, Tuesday came, and we started to get a lot of the commercial clients accepting our bids. It went from like, ooh, to really good. So this month we've already gotten on the schedule for a whole bunch of commercial cleans all signed up.
Which I just realized why is the end of the month. And so Tuesday was the first of the month. And so that was the time that everyone, I didn't think of that until just now, but that was the time that everyone was out of their contracts officially. And so they could start a new one. And so everyone was finally getting back to us all in one day. Like it was like, what, 3 clients?
Oh, a bunch.
All
like there was 3.
Yeah. Just a whole bunch of, basically in one day we had like probably close to 70,000 of money, like being like, yep, we're going to be using you guys for the whole year.
Yeah.
So like increased our schedule by like 70,000 in one day.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit of a relief.
For the year is what you're talking about. But we, and also we had our cleaners last week where we had some startup and then we had some get a little nervous. I'm like, nope, stick with the plan. Here's our plan. They're getting a little nervous because they're like, ooh, has it gotten in the schedule? They were like, because their first week they only had like 3 days they were full. Mm-hmm. And then they were like, hey, I'll open them up my weekend. Now she's like booked out for like, yeah. So it worked out good because all the timings worked out good and all the commercial ones are signed up in her schedule now. So she's going to be booked pretty good for that one.
And now we're back to we need more people.
Yeah, we need more people to fill those ones. And then we quoted a bunch of commercial cleanings this week. Some of them are looking pretty good, and some of them are daily cleaning, some of them are weekly cleaning, some of them are once a week, except for once a week will be a lot of work each time we go. So it might take more than one day. And then, it's been started a complete opposite by the end of the week. Like even before this podcast,
Monday and Tuesday were very opposite of each other.
Yeah, we did talk about last week. We had during the time of the podcast or when it was posted, I went and did another quote for somebody. That was the most awkward situation walkthrough I've been to. I went to the walkthrough and it was actually someone different than actually that talked to us on the phone. So they were ready to get out of that walkthrough as fast as I was.
They did not want to be there.
We were at 100% until that one. And I don't know if I quoted them kind of high on that one because I didn't really want to go there. But if we got it, we get it.
We get it. Then we get it for the right price. No. Yep.
But those are kind of our crazy things that happened this week. Complete opposites.
Yeah, no, for sure. What's kind of happening now is we have parts of our marketing, like initially we got all of our residential stuff kind of set up, and then now we've got marketing streams that are specifically for commercial, and so that is starting to take hold and starting to come into effect, rather than just hoping and waiting and finding out. But apartment buildings seem to kind of be our niche.
Yes.
When it comes to cleaning.
We kind of figured that out.
We've gotten 3 apartment buildings now.
Yeah. And the thing is with the apartment buildings is we know a lot of people in the real estate industry already. Mm-hmm. So I think that might be why we're getting a lot of them because they already know somebody we already know, or somehow we're related to them because we took photos for them or something. So a lot of them are like, and we know that real estate market very well. So I think it's just easy for us to talk to them and get those ones. So
we can leverage our other business more effectively.
Yeah, we're going to kind of focus on doing those. We did do kind of a unique thing last week with one of the ones we're doing, one of the Airbnbs we're doing, is we told them we'll go take photos for them so we can, they can use them too, but we were actually just going to use them so we can make sure everything was the exact same every time we went back. But we could leverage doing the photos for that. But I think the whole real estate market, we know all that knowledge.
Was that the log cabin one?
Yeah.
Nice.
That was one of the ones that I think we talked about last week. So
yeah, the super expensive log cabin. Nice. Another thing we mentioned last week talking about, we were waiting to hear back from Angies List. They finally called us back. And they're like, hey, we haven't heard from you. And we're like, what are you talking about? We haven't heard from you.
Oh, that was an interesting call. They call and go, oh, we've been trying to get a hold of you. And we go,
no, you haven't.
I go, Dean. I like yell at the other room, Dean, did they miss their appointment? Yes, they missed their appointment. We're waiting for them to call. They never called. So we didn't really have a very good experience with them. And then we told you guys last week we're going to keep trying out because there's probably something we didn't understand or something we were doing wrong. We tried both ends again. This time we talked to them on the phone. Dean will talk about that part. And then I tried to go as a client, as a
you put it in another lead again.
Trying to go get a list and trying to somehow find a cleaning company. And again,
pretending to be a customer.
That was way too long. I still never got somebody. So I'm not sure how they rank so high on Google and all that stuff, but
because they've been in business for 30 years.
Yeah, I signed up to get somebody to clean my house, and it took them forever, and they finally called me, and then they still never gave me a list. It's like, no. Or anything. So it's like, yeah. So you want to talk about your part before we get farther on with them?
Before we start complaining more and more about it. I mean, it's like the phone call came in and we're trying to get a price. They sent us over a map of like what we want our service area to be. I filled it out. They never got it. So they sent me another one. I filled it out again. Never got it. So the tool, whatever tool that they're using to figure that out, just one doesn't work.
There's too many red flags.
There's so many red flags. And so trying to get a price out of them was like pulling teeth because they can't tell you anything until they send you over paperwork. They can't send you over paperwork until you pass a background check and like all of this other stuff. Like there's just this huge process, which I understand the whole background check. Like if I'm a single person business, like I get the background check. But the problem is like, how many times do we tell them like we are a large organization? We have like over 14 employees right now. Like we are.
Yeah. Like somebody that's more than one person. Let's say there's two people at a place.
Only one of them has to pass the background check.
Yeah, so it's kind of confusing on that part. But for like Dean said, the single people, that it is completely understandable, and it makes perfect sense for those. And even if there's a better way to like have all the people that are at the company show that they were the background check or something like that. So the logistics on that part aren't exactly right. But like Dean says, it completely makes sense for somebody. Mm-hmm. For one person, then perfect. And especially for the consumer side, they see the background check and they're approved, and that all looks good. But we never actually got to that point.
But here's the thing. Like I'm just thinking about this now, where that's a little bit misleading to their clients, right? So the members that are on their platform, they're going to be getting a badge that says like, oh, this company has been background checked.
Yeah.
Which as a homeowner, I would assume, okay, so the person coming to my house has passed a background check, which is not true.
Yeah.
It's only one person in the company, and I don't think they make that very clear, which is it's a little misleading. It's kind of troubling, especially when they are so focused on homeowners and like that kind of say. They say that they're a very homeowner friendly, like it's all about their homeowners. Everything they tell you is, oh, because of our homeowners. But I don't know. Yeah. There's that, and then
it's pretty much you can pass a background check. One person in the company could pass a background check. You could pay the most on the platform to be the number one on the list. Mm-hmm. But realistically, you could have 300 employees and only one person on their background check.
Yes. There's no requirements of like, do you require background checks on your employees? Is there like, there's no questions about that.
Yeah.
There
But
is.
we won't put them down too much on that because
No.
they did actually make sure they did do pretty thorough on making sure you're a legit business.
Yes.
And they did.
I will give them that.
They do. We won't because we are kind of saying negative things about them on that part, but they are making sure you are
An
legit
actual
on that.
business. Yep.
Yeah. So they are good on that.
They shared part of the reason that they have contracts is so that they don't have people like, a company popping up and then going away, popping up and then going away. To some extent, I can understand that, but I think that's a very weak explanation for holding people to a contract.
Yeah.
And we've talked a little bit about that before, so I won't go into it again. But we finally did get a price from them. And basically you can expect for every, like a certain amount of contacts per dollar, right?
Yeah.
And so basically you can boil it down to cost per message that you get. And it's about $12 to $26 per message that you're receiving.
Yeah.
Which for a commercial client, that's fine. One message, like getting messages at that price is fine, which is pretty similar to what we're paying on Thumbtack for
Commercial ones, yeah.
for commercial clients. But when it comes to residential cleanings, the acquisitional costs we have to keep them lower because turnaround is much more likely. And it's just really high, especially because they only, quote, focus on homeowners. They don't do commercial, even though they always ask you, do you want commercial?
Yeah.
In every lead that you put in. So eventually it boiled down to the cost per message is just too high, especially if you have a closing, like let's assume you have a really great closing rate of 30%, like 30% of the messages that come in book you. That's still, rounding it, it's like 1 in every 3 messages. So you're spending $75, almost $75 to get one client.
Yeah. And maybe even it's just a 1-bedroom, 1-bath.
And it might only be like an $80 clean.
So you lost money on it by the time you actually go do it. So,
yes, you can gain money in the repeat business, but because it's a residential, situation,
we could use our money smarter on different platforms. And have been trying all of them because everyone's going to have a different client, like not like a different client, but we're going to get new clients from every platform. Just a matter of how much it's going to cost. So if we're going to, it's going to be less over here, we might as well spend more money over here to get more. My biggest concern was with their platform. And we like to test them out. We keep asking them questions and make sure we're learning all their platform. Mm-hmm. My biggest concern was their platform seems to be set more around 30 years ago when they started, where you would call your neighbor to figure out where your plumber is, like the perfect plumber, the perfect person to come fix your house. Right. Now, day and age, the consumer wants it fast and now. Like they want to go online. They want to click this button, get the list, and call the person right now.
But I mean, they're really keen to tell you they've been in business for 30 years. Like if you've had any phone call with them, they're like, oh, Angie's been in business for 30 years. Like they must have a plaque in front of them to make sure that they say that in every single phone call.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. You just got to innovate to that the new consumer these days wants, and that it's like speed. We want instant gratification. And their only way to get their instant gratification, like there's too many platforms that they try to move you to get the instant gratification. Like they need the instant gratification of now. If I want to get the answer now, like over time, Dean has learned that I just tell him, call him. It's easier. Just call him. They'll tell you the answer. Where Dean probably when he started here, he was more of I want to go online, research the answer.
I researched. Yep.
And I was the same way too, until I finally just realized, just call him, get the problem solved now, and let's move on to the next step.
Mm-hmm.
So where it took me all day to get an answer from the Angies List, and I could have had somebody scheduled out to my house before I would have gotten the list from them.
Yeah, and this phone call was 35 minutes long to get a price.
Oh yeah, that was it was they kept beating around the bush quite a bit to do this and that and this and that. And I understand for the part of them trying to make sure we're a legit business. But just give us a price. We need to know if it's going to work, and we can go from there.
Like, stop worrying about if we're real or not. Like, we want to have a price first. We can figure that stuff out later. We haven't even committed to advertising with them yet. So it kind of seemed backwards, but I would say if you have the opportunity to advertise on Angie's List, try other platforms first, especially if you're just starting out. I think your marketing dollar is going to go much further on different platforms, like a Thumbtack, or if you have more budget, then a Yelp is really good. Thumbtack, I think, has a lower price point as far as getting into it as a single person, but I would be very hard pressed to convince anyone that Angie would be worth it. But I mean, really, that kind of brings us to our next point: is how much should you be spending in marketing?
As much as you want.
As much as you want. As much as
Does
you
$1
can.
work? Does $1 work?
Really, the question of how much you should be spending in marketing is as much as you can, and only you as a business owner can know how much that is, right?
Well, how do we determine that, Dean?
I mean, you can look at it and you can see. Some people do it based on gross revenue or like a percentage of gross revenue or percentage of this, that, or the other. Yeah, you can calculate it, but that doesn't allow the flexibility. There's a whole bunch of other stuff.
What's the purpose of spending money?
Making money.
So if we're going to spend $1 and make 90 cents, are we going to spend more money?
No.
If we spend $80 and we make $100, are we going to spend more money?
Then yes.
So if we spend $1 and make $100, how much money would you spend?
As much as possible.
There you go. Because
really,
if you know what you're going to make every time, it's endless. You don't have a marketing budget. There's no marketing budget anymore, because you can, if you know you're going to spend $1 and make $100, send the whole bank account.
Yeah.
Go all in.
Yeah, and marketing is it's basically the magic machine that prints money for you.
Yep.
And it's all about figuring out what system works for you.
Yeah.
Right. So we were talking before this podcast a little bit. You brought up Billboards, and how if you like, Billboards can work great for very specific companies. Like, say
More
you're
local.
Right. Or say you're a McDonald's and it's like you got a billboard on the highway, get off at this exit.
Yeah. Everyone knows what that is. You can just say it. You can just put the logo McDonald's on there and put the exit in its next exit. You just write next exit, and everyone knows that. Everyone understands that one. We were talking about, there's one town I used to go to all the time, and it had 2 billboards in it. And it had 2 billboards for the same company.
This business did, yeah.
And so think about it this way. If you're driving through Main Street, there's a big billboard that shows a cupcake. You're like, that looks good, but I'll make it when I get home. Or a big billboard with a cupcake with a big, huge arrow that points straight down at the business. You go, I can get cupcakes there. I'm going to go there. So that's a perfect use for a billboard. I would use that billboard all the time, because I guarantee you that's probably going to work, because that big arrow points where I'm going to get that cupcake. You're going to get that fix. Because you just showed them a cupcake with your logo on it. They're going to go home and make their own cupcakes. But that big arrow tells them where to go. So that's perfect money made, perfect money used.
Right. You're driving, the marketing has to have a purpose. And last week we talked a little bit about building your ads backwards, starting with the result that you want, and then going the step before that, and the step before that, and the step before that. And so, like in the case of the billboard, you want people to buy cupcakes. Well, okay, you need people to know where your cupcakes are, and then you need people to see that cupcakes are where you are.
Yeah. So when you're thinking about your marketing budget, so you have to figure out what you're going to spend your money. You have to try things out and see which works. So like we tried Yelp. We happen to know Yelp worked for another business, so that's why we literally tried that first. Actually we tried Facebook first, but we knew we were doing Yelp. So we knew when we spend money on there. So you kind of have to spend a little bit at the beginning. So try a little bit. So maybe you want to spend $100 and see, did you get anything from that? If it did, spend a little more. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay. So every time I spend $100, I'm going to get this. Let's keep going. So try it small and then go from there. So you could spend $10,000 at once, but try it out. Make sure it works. And then if it's working for you, perfect.
Yeah, and the easiest way to tell whether things are working for you is you got to set up your analytics. A lot of tools have analytics built into them, but you need to kind of know what they are. So a lot of, a common thing to look at is like your cost per click. Google has that, Yelp has that, Facebook will have it. Basically a breakdown of how much money you're spending to get one person to click on your ad. And then from that, are you also tracking conversions after that click? Because you don't want people just to click on your ad. Mm-mm. That doesn't put any money in your pocket. Right now, you're still just wasting money. You want to see how many people clicking on that ad are actually making a purchase or moving on to the next step. And so like Google, you'll need conversion tracking. Facebook, you'll have Facebook Pixel. Yelp, you'll have your messages and your CTA and your website visits. And then it becomes a little bit more difficult to track after that, but you can kind of get a good idea, especially if you have call tracking enabled, which is basically somebody clicks the call now button and it rings a fake number and then rings towards your number, and then it counts as like a call. Yeah. And so it's able to be tracked, which is good. It's all useful like data collection. And if you want to figure out the best way to be spending your money, every single business is different. And even your messaging can determine whether or not your advertisements will work on one platform or another. Your advertisements could work on TikTok, or they might not. Like it's just a matter of you have to try it, see if it's working, see if it's getting the conversions, and gathering all of that data and actually looking at it. Like we're looking at the data every single day and seeing, okay, like writing down like, okay, what was the decision or what did we do differently today? And then seeing if those numbers line up or what the numbers are doing after that decision. And keeping track of all of that can be kind of overwhelming, but once you have it all in one place and you're just doing, 5 minutes a day, or like I have 30 minutes a day dedicated just to looking at data for all of our streams of marketing, you're able to get a better idea of what is and is not working. And so that's the main question of marketing.
Yep.
So the only thing left is to talk about the number.
Last week, $12,310.
$12,310. I think it was $315, but who's counting?
Okay.
Bean counter. Well, that's all we have time for today. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider subscribing on whatever platform that you're watching or listening to this on. And if you really like this podcast, be sure to leave us a 5-star rating. And if you have questions for us, please feel free to join our 0 to 7 figure entrepreneur Facebook group, where we'll be kind of hanging out each week, where you can ask questions and we can kind of crowdsource problems. So thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.